Hey, ladies and gentlemen, in case you haven't heard, there's a big story going around that NASA plans to privatize the ISS. Russia is starting to actually pull out of ISS assignments and other groups so that a handful of companies can start to learn how to use the facility for joint assignments so that they can actually begin to start bidding on it in the 2020s, and this is a really big deal. All right, so here's the biggest thing. There is an actual quote-unquote Kickstarter, or the idea of ISS as private company era coming into focus. And it basically just goes on with saying that private companies, will be able to visit the ISS with their own crafts and stuff. We see that with the SpaceX company getting into it. They're talking about spacewalking and attaching a new international docking adapter or adapter, IDA. The adapter will allow spacewalking like the Boeing CTS-100 Starliner and the SpaceX Crew Dragon to dock with the ISS. So they're basically aligning the new equipment with the old generation's official, equipment, and they're basically getting it ready. And Mike thinks he's very excited. He's a NASA astronaut on the agency's live stream. It's challenging to develop new things. Sometimes things don't work, but that's why we develop them. In May, Boeing announced launch date in 2018 for the first Starliner manned flight. Pressure is on SpaceX to beat Boeing to the first punch and send its first crew to the ISS. A race officially started Friday with the dock installation, or a docking installation. So this will be one of the astronauts' fourth spacewalks overall. There's 194 spacewalks in the support of the space station maintenance and assembly crew. That's kind of where I'm getting at from this information. It's a little bit like synchronized swimming operations, said Rubens in a video ahead of the walk. Oddly enough, he uses the water reference. I love that. The IDA opens the door to the commercial space travel in a big way, and that's a major chapter, said Williams. So they got to basically get there and get prepared for it before they just jump in and start bidding on which company is going to basically eventually buy it. On Friday, Jeff Williams and Kate Rubins will perform a spacewalk with the International Space Station and install a one-size-fits-all docking adapter that can connect various commercially operated spacecrafts. And it does look like they are talking about the SpaceX's Dragon spacecraft delivering an international docking adapter. Here they put adapter, over the other one they said adopter. Why, I don't know. Could be different people writing it. And it looks like they were talking about that. And over here it talks about Russia's Soyuz spacecraft. And America's relationship with Russia has an expiration date. In other words, they're pulling from the ISS program, at least partly. And I said that was going to happen because no doubt Russia has its own plans and has its own future that it sees for itself. So NASA wants to sell the ISS to a private company in the 2020s. NASA announced its plan on Thursday to transform ownership of the International Space Station to a private company sometime between now and mid-2020s. NASA is trying to develop economic development in low Earth orbit. NASA's Deputy Associate Administrator for Exploration Systems Development, Bill Hill, said during a press conference, ultimately our desire is to hand the space station over to either a commercial entity or some other commercial capability that can research and can continue in low Earth orbit. Digital Trends reported that the transfer of the ISS to the commercial companies is already well underway and that an influx of commercial launches the ISS will reduce NASA's overall involvement and basically phase out government-related space travel, or at least moderate it. So that's the idea. It'll basically be phased in and phased out as they kind of need to. And if you remember, a good movie called Prometheus was actually formed and funded by a private company. So it looks like we got this. Sorry. Alright, so one such mission run by SpaceX, the company is founded by Elon Musk, who I believe is a Bush insider. I think he's like a third cousin's of one of the Bushes. I think. I could be wrong in his association. But basically the idea behind SpaceX is to put men on Mars. SpaceX will also run 2 missions to shuttle astronauts between the U.S. and the ISS. Those missions are part of a rush to commercialize low Earth orbit by SpaceX, Boeing, Axiom Space, and others. You wouldn't be surprised to see at least a few other companies bid on the ISS. The bid farewell to government, run low Earth orbit space programs, say hello to the dawning of privatization of the world's next commercial frontier. You remember all those references in the late 1990s science fiction to, what was it? It was like all those freighters and stuff. They're like mining the moon and mining all the different colonies and stuff. They were always getting hit by aliens and stuff. That's how you know that all this stuff is planned 2-3 decades in advance. They put the media out there and they get you interested in the idea. Then they develop the physical technology and then they kind of bring it all in together. So we all knew this was coming. And it's just a matter of how it's going to come together. Is NASA going to be completely phased out? No, but they're talking about the low Earth orbit functions of NASA. In other words, them going and colonizing Mars and all that stuff is still going to happen under government programs like it's already happened, I'm more than certain. So it'll just be very interesting to know how, why, etc. And I can't wait till I can actually, stop off and get a ticket to, I don't know, Sirius or somewhere like that. There's a few other, there's actually a few little inhabitable planets and exoplanets in that area, I believe. Isn't one called Mimi or Momo or something like that we just named? I think that was like the 11th planet, maybe. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong area. I know there's a few around the asteroid belt by Mars. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. Thank you.